have back to God, to give 10% of my annual earnings back to God. And the way we usually do that is we give half or 5% to the parish church for the works of the Lord here, and the other half or 5% to other charities. Where are you with that percentage in your own life as you look at your own books? There was a survey by Gallup taken recently comparing the annual giving patterns, percentages of annual income given back to God and the church among Catholics in America, who number 67 million, among Protestants in America, and among Jewish people in America. And we Catholics didn't come out very well. The average gift back to God from annual earnings among Catholics was 1.3%. Among Protestant people, the average was 2.4%, which is almost twice the percentage that we give. And among Jewish people, 3.8%, which is about 3 times what we do. But notice that none of those 3 groups got anywhere near the 10% tithe. We've all got work to do. As followers of Jesus Christ, He has given us some instructions, and some of the basis on which we will each be judged at the end of our lives is how we used our money and resources to feed the hungry, to give drink to the thirsty, to clothe the naked. Jesus tells that story about the judgment with the lambs and the sheep and goats. And some of them say, well, Lord, when did we see you hungry and not give you something to eat? When did we see you thirsty and not give you something to drink? When did we see you naked and not offer you clothing? And Jesus says, anytime you neglected to do it. For one of my least brothers and sisters, you neglected to do it for me. When it comes to money, I consider myself to be pretty ordinary. I have a salary, I have a car to drive, a place to live, clothes to wear, food to eat. Pretty ordinary, I think. Until I compare myself with those who are poor, who actually are the majority of the population on this planet Earth. And in the eyes of the poor, I could be seen as fabulously wealthy. And the same is true for every single one of you. I was reading about a poor lady from Bangladesh who came to visit a family in Boston, and her eyes were starstruck with what she saw. And she was in this lady's house in Boston, and the woman from Bangladesh looked out the window and said, "What's that over there?" And the hostess said, "Well, what?" "Over there, what's that?" "Oh," the woman said, "that's a house for the car." A house for the car. A house for the car, she kept repeating. A very eye-opening and often painful exercise that I ask you to do is to look at the last 3 months through your checkbook, through your credit card statements, and see what you spent on necessities, on enjoyment, and on luxury, and what you spent on the poor. Anyway, I have three things to say about money, being a disciple of Jesus Christ. The first is to say that my money and what I do with my money is nobody else's business doesn't really square with the teaching of Jesus. The gospel has something to say about how we use what we have if we are his followers. Second, we can use money for good, and we can do an awful lot of good with our money and resources. But our money is also a two-edged sword. If we don't use it properly, it can make us blind to the needs of other people. It can cause us to be selfish and unwilling to share the blessings that I have been given. And it can also fill me with pride, where I measure who I am by what I have. And third, the one single, most reliable, most accurate, practical way to look at my spiritual life, how I stand before God, is found in the way that I use my money. Jesus teaches a lot about how we do this. He was very concerned about how we use our money and our resources. The real question is, why doesn't all this bother us enough?